You know that moment when you check your savings account on the 25th of the month, fully expecting to see progress, and there's $47 sitting there? Not $470, not $147, just $47. And you swear you were being good this time. You turned down drinks with friends. You meal prepped like some kind of productivity influencer. You even skipped that coffee you really, really wanted. But somehow, once again, you're staring at two digits when you promised yourself you'd finally break into four. Here's what nobody tells you. The problem isn't that you're bad with money. The first $1,000 is genuinely, mathematically, psychologically harder to save than the next $10,000. And I'm going to show you exactly why that is, and more importantly, why you shouldn't feel like a complete failure for struggling with it. I'm Jade, and I spend way too much time researching why the first $1,000 feels impossible to save, while the second $1,000 happens almost automatically. And it's not what most financial gurus will tell you. If you want to finally understand what's really stopping you from saving and what actually works when you're starting from zero, hit that subscribe button. Because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this milestone is so brutal and the specific strategy that works when everything else has failed. The brutal truth nobody tells you. Here's what financial influencers won't tell you because it doesn't fit their narrative of personal responsibility and hustle culture. Saving your first $1,000 is not just hard. It's designed to be nearly impossible. And I don't mean that in some conspiracy theory way. I mean the actual mathematics of your financial situation are working against you in ways that don't apply once you have money. Let's break this down. If you're saving $200 per month, which is honestly ambitious for most people, you're looking at 5 months of perfect discipline to hit $1,000. 5 months where absolutely nothing goes wrong. 5 months where your car doesn't need repairs, where you don't get sick, where nobody has a birthday or a wedding, where no unexpected bill shows up in your mailbox. And here's the thing that makes this almost comical. In those 5 months, something always happens. Your brain knows this, by the way. When you have zero savings, your brain operates in what researchers call survival mode. Every single financial decision gets filtered through fear and scarcity. You're not thinking about growth or opportunity. You're thinking about not drowning. It's like trying to plan your dream vacation while your apartment is actively on fire. Your mental bandwidth is completely consumed by immediate threats, and then here's where it gets worse. Let's say you actually managed to save $300. You're 30% of the way there. You're feeling pretty good about yourself. Then your washing machine dies. Not only are you back at zero, but now you feel like a loser who can't even handle basic adulting. This is where most people give up completely. Not after the first setback. After the third or fourth time they've watched their savings evaporate for reasons completely outside their control. But here's the part that will actually give you hope. And I promise this isn't just feel-good nonsense. Once you understand why this is happening, you can actually work around it. The hidden math that makes $1,000 so brutal. Let me show you something about percentages that will completely change how you think about small amounts of money. When you have $50 in your account and something costs $50, you just spent 100% of your money. When you have $1,000 and something costs $50, you spent 5% of your money. Same expense, wildly different psychological impact. This is why small setbacks feel catastrophic when you're starting from zero, because they are catastrophic. A $30 parking ticket when you have $100 saved is a 30% loss. It's devastating. That same $30 parking ticket when you have $1,000 saved is a 3% loss. It's annoying, sure, but it doesn't destroy your entire sense of financial progress. This explains why people with money seem so relaxed about expenses that would send you into a panic spiral. It's not that they're more financially responsible, it's that the math is literally different for them. And here's another thing that makes this worse. While you're trying to save $50 per month, your costs are probably increasing by $30 per month. Rent goes up, insurance goes up, subscription services you forgot you had keep charging you. So you're not actually moving forward at $50 per month. You're moving forward at maybe $20 per month. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up while someone tells you to run faster. Now let's talk about the income side of this equation because this is where things get really depressing. If you're making an average income, somewhere around 80 to 90% of that is going to fixed expenses. Rent, utilities, insurance, car payment, student loans, groceries. That's not discretionary spending, that's survival. You're left with 10 to 20% for everything else. Saving, entertainment, dealing with unexpected costs, having any kind of life whatsoever. You're trying to save from the leftovers of the leftovers. But wait, there's more, and this is the part that nobody talks about. Every time you fail at saving, it makes the next attempt harder. Psychologists call this saving fatigue. It's like decision fatigue, but specifically for your finances. After 3 or 4 failed attempts at hitting $1,000, your brain starts to believe it's impossible. Not because you're lazy or undisciplined, but because you have empirical evidence that it doesn't work. Your past self keeps proving to your present self that this goal is unrealistic. So if the math is actively working against you and your brain is convinced it's impossible, what actually works? Why your current strategy is failing. Here's the uncomfortable truth about most saving advice. It's written by people who already have money for people who already have money. They just don't realize it. Take the classic example, just cut out your daily coffee. If you spend $3 on coffee every day, that's $90 per month, which is $1,080 per year. Boom, problem solved. Except here's what they're missing. That coffee might be the only thing making your day bearable. You're working a job you hate, dealing with a commute that drains your soul, and that $3 coffee is literally your one moment of joy before the grind starts. When you eliminate it, sure, you save $90. But you also spend $200 on your mental health because you're miserable. You compensate in other ways. You order takeout because you're too depressed to cook. You buy something random online because you need a dopamine hit. The coffee wasn't the problem. Or how about this one? Make a budget and stick to it. Great advice, truly revolutionary. Except budgets work for people who have margin in their finances. If you're making $1,500 per month and your fixed expenses are $1,450, your budget is a joke. The problem isn't that you're bad at budgeting. The problem is that you have $50 of wiggle room and life costs more than $50. And then there's the automation advice. Pay yourself first. Set up an automatic transfer to savings so you never see the money. This sounds amazing until your automatic transfer gets declined because you didn't have enough in your checking account. Or worse, it goes through and then you have to transfer it back and pay a $15 failed transaction fee. Now you're not just back where you started, you're $15 poorer and drowning in shame. The real problems are completely different from what the advice assumes. First, you're trying to save without any buffer whatsoever. You need a micro buffer before you can build real savings, but nobody tells you this. Second, you've got this all or nothing mindset where saving $20 doesn't feel worth it, so you don't do anything. Third, your timeline is unrealistic. You want $1,000 in 3 months, but with your actual income and expenses, that's fantasy. And fourth, you have no system for handling slip-ups. One mistake and you mentally reset to zero even if you still have $400 saved. I know someone who tried to save $1,000 6 different times. Every single time she'd get to somewhere between $400 and $600, and then something would happen. Medical bill, car repair, family emergency. By attempt number 6, she was convinced she was fundamentally broken. But on attempt 7, she changed her entire approach, and now she has $15,000 saved. What did she do differently? It wasn't willpower, it wasn't discipline, it was strategy. The actual strategy that works. Forget everything you've heard about saving. Seriously, just delete it from your brain. Here's what actually works when you're starting from absolute zero. And I need you to trust me on this, even though it's going to sound counterintuitive. Your first goal is not $1,000. Your first goal is $100 to $250. That's it. I know that sounds pathetic. I know you want to be the person who saves $1,000 in 3 months. But you're not that person yet, and that's fine. You need to become the person who can save $100 first. This takes 1 to 2 months if you're saving small amounts, and here's why it works. It's psychologically achievable. Your brain can actually believe this is possible because it is. This is your anti-panic fund, not your emergency fund, your anti-panic fund. Once you have that micro buffer, everything changes. But here's the next part that's going to sound weird. Don't save for one big $1,000 pot. Save in categories. Put $300 aside for random stuff that breaks. Put $200 aside for social obligations. Put $500 aside for actual emergencies. Why does this work? Because hitting $300 feels like a win. You're not waiting months to feel successful. You're getting small victories every few weeks, and those victories create momentum. Now here's a hack that sounds ridiculous, but works surprisingly well. Save in odd amounts. $47, $83, $127, not round numbers. Why? Because your brain sees round numbers as real money that you're supposed to spend. Odd numbers look like leftovers. They look like money that's already been allocated and forgotten about. It's much harder to justify breaking into $83 for a $12 purchase because your brain sees that $83 as somehow already spoken for. And then there's the reverse budget, which is going to flip your entire perspective. A normal budget tracks what you spend. A reverse budget tracks what you don't spend. Every time you avoid an expense, you write it down. Didn't take an Uber, that's $15 saved. Didn't order delivery, that's $25 saved. Made coffee at home, that's $3 saved. Now, this money isn't actually in your account, but you're creating a psychological win. You're celebrating avoided expenses like they're real money, and that positive reinforcement matters more than you think. Here's the reality that most saving advice ignores. Your savings are going to fluctuate. Month 1, you save $80. Month 2, you save $40 because you needed $50 for something. Month 3, you save $100. After 3 months, you have $170, not zero. You have $170. Progress isn't linear, but it's still progress. Most people would look at month 2 and think they failed. They didn't fail. They just had a setback, and setbacks are part of the process. And one more thing, every time extra money comes in, whether it's a tax return, a birthday gift, a bonus, whatever, use the 80-20 rule. 80% goes to savings. 20% is yours to spend however you want. Why does this work? Because you get a win. You get to enjoy 20% of that money right now, but you also make massive progress on your savings goal. It breaks the deprivation cycle while still moving you forward. Look, these strategies aren't sexy. They're not going to make you rich in 3 months, but they're designed for people who are actually struggling. And if you're watching this video, that's probably you. And that's completely okay when you're truly stuck. Sometimes the problem isn't your saving strategy, it's your income. And we need to talk about this honestly because there's a point where budgeting and discipline can't fix a structural problem. If your fixed expenses are eating more than 90% of your income, you're not in a saving problem, you're in a survival problem. You can't budget your way out of a deficit. There are 2 paths here, and neither is easy, but both are necessary. First, emergency cost reduction. Look at your 3 biggest expenses: housing, transportation, and food. Can you get a roommate? Can you move somewhere cheaper? Can you get rid of your car and use public transit? Can you switch to a cheaper phone plan? I know this sounds extreme, and it is extreme, but if you're drowning, you need extreme measures. You're not looking for comfort right now. You're looking for breathing room. Second, income increase, which sounds obvious but needs to be approached strategically. Don't think start a business. That's overwhelming and unrealistic. Think smaller. What can you do this week to make an extra $50 to $100? Freelance writing, food delivery, online tutoring, selling stuff you don't use. $100 per week is $400 per month, and $400 per month is the difference between impossible and achievable when you're trying to save $1,000. But here's what I want you to understand. Your first $1,000 isn't really about the money. It's about building a skill, the skill of delayed gratification. It's about an identity shift, going from someone who's broke to someone who's a saver. It's about momentum, proving to yourself that change is actually possible. If you've tried to save $1,000 multiple times and failed, you're not alone. Around 60% of people don't have $1,000 for emergencies. This is a systemic problem, not a personal failing. But that doesn't mean you're powerless. It just means you need a different approach than what the financial gurus are selling. The truth about why this is so hard. So why does saving your first $1,000 feel impossible? Because it literally is the hardest financial milestone you'll ever hit. The math works against you because small setbacks have massive percentage impacts. Your brain works against you because it's stuck in survival mode. The system works against you because costs keep rising while wages stay flat. Everything is designed to keep you at zero. But impossible and nearly impossible are not the same thing. Thousands of people cross this threshold every single day. Not because they're smarter or more disciplined than you, because they found a strategy that actually works for their situation. The micro buffer approach, the category system, the odd number hack, the reverse budget, the volatility acceptance. These aren't magic, they're just tactics that acknowledge reality instead of pretending you can willpower your way through structural disadvantages. Your first $1,000 won't make you rich. It won't solve all your problems. It won't fundamentally change your life overnight, but it will make you different. It will prove to yourself that you're capable of change. And that proof, that evidence, is worth more than the money itself. Because once you know you can do it, everything else becomes possible. Start today with whatever you can. $10, $20, $50, it doesn't matter. Track your progress, celebrate small wins. Don't compare yourself to people who started with advantages you didn't have. Just focus on being better than you were yesterday. And if this video helped you see saving differently, if it gave you even one useful strategy or made you feel less alone in the struggle, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real talk about money that actually acknowledges how hard this is instead of pretending it's easy. Drop a comment telling me which strategy you're going to try first. Your future self is counting on the decision you make right now. Trust me, they'll thank you for it.